So, welcome folks. I decided to make a small introduction video about, or tutorial video rather, on how to use the basics of OCTGN. So the things I'm going to show you in this video actually applies to most games. It's just how to manipulate cards and how to communicate with your opponent. So first, I would like to draw your attention to the chat box that's in the corner. One of the most important features here is that basically every move you make will be printed in this chat box. So if you lost track of what's happening in your game, you just go scroll up again and just read one move after the other what just happened on the screen. Okay. Another thing that's really important is along this tutorial I'll be showing you talking about several hotkeys that I use, either control and a specific key on the keyboard or one of the function keys and whatnot. Those hotkeys only work if the cursor is not in the chat box. So if you ever try to do like a combination of keys and nothing's happening, most likely it's because the cursor is still in the chat box. In this case, just click on the table and then do your command again and it should work. Okay, I do encourage new players to look around. There's a menu for each section of play, meaning there's a menu specific to the table, there's a menu specific to the hand, the library or draw deck, the discard pile, and so on and so on. Beside each command, there's actually the corresponding hotkeys. So if there's things that I'm not going over, you'll find more information within those menus. Okay, so one of the important things when you play a game on OCTGN is actually to be able to communicate with the other players. So one of the basic things you need to be able to do is to point out cards, which is done in this fashion using targeting. So what you do is you hold the shift key and then you click a card. It'll actually draw a nice little target that draws your attention to the card you're talking about. The other way of identifying a card or identifying a relation between two cards is by drawing an arrow between them. It's done by holding the shift key, clicking again, but this time you'll be dragging from one card to the other, like so, or just like so. Obviously throughout the game, more and more cards will accumulate on the board, so if you need to zoom in and out of the board for some reason because there's too many cards on it, it is done with the actual mouse wheel. So if you go in or out, you'll see the cards will be moving in or out of the view field. If for some reason while you're screwing around with the zoom or anything else, your card actually become completely out of sight, it doesn't matter. All you have to do in this case is actually you play a card, and then the cards will actually show back up right in view, at least in one corner. Then if you want to bring him back in the middle of the table, if you want to bring back the middle of the table in the center of the view, rather, you just hold the space bar while clicking on the table and dragging the table back to its original position. Okay, so now a couple hotkeys for basic standard actions in the game. So basically, once you loaded your game, you should come to an empty space like that, in which you're going to need to either load a deck or start a limited game. If you wish to load a deck, it's done by doing a Control L function, which you can actually then just click your deck, click open, and boom, your deck is loaded. For certain games, it's possible to do a limited game, what they call a limited game, which is what they call a seal game. So you select a bunch of boosters, most likely 6 boosters, and then randomly OCTGN will assign cards to those boosters, and then you'll be able to build your deck from a limited pool card. So to start a limited game, you actually do Control, Shift, and L. Then all you have to do is to select the type of the sets from which you want the booster to be. So for example, in this case I'll choose all the ice. Then you'll add the booster, as many boosters as you want. So I want 2 of this set, and then I'll take 2 of the other set. so on until you have all the boosters you want. If you're playing resource-based games, usually the lands or resources or whatnot are held separately. So you're looking for either something called land booster, or in this case, faction and resources, to which you're going to add one of them. And then you click start. It'll bring you to your card pool, to which you can actually then build your deck, and when you're done you just have simply to load the cards. I also always recommend save your deck before you load your cards in the main game area, just in case if something happen or if like the game crashes or anything, at least it's not everything that's going to be lost. You'll be able to get back to it and play it later on. Okay, so once let's load a deck again. Once you have a deck loaded, one of the things you might want to do is actually shuffle your deck. So that's simple enough. It's a Control S will shuffle the deck for you. You can shuffle as many times as you want. Although I will say, don't think of it as like a real life shuffle. It's a randomizer. So doing it several times in a row might create some wonky repartition. I always say do it a couple times and then it should be mixed in fairly well. So once your deck is all shuffled and whatnot, you probably want to draw a hand. So to draw a single card, you either double click on the deck, or you can use the hotkey Control D and it'll draw automatically for you. If you have to draw several cards in one go, your option is also to do a multiple draw by using Control, Shift, and D, and then selecting how many cards you want. In this case, let's say I want 8 cards. Okay, I only have 5, so let's say I want 5 cards. Then I click OK, and then boom, my 5 cards are drawn instead of having to draw them each individually. Also, one thing that can be interesting when playing any games is, let's say that I have several cards on the board here, and I want those cards. I want 2 of those cards. Let's say those 2 last cards here, I want to have like one single action happen at the same time. So what I can do is I can click and drag the mouse until that blue square appears, selecting cards which will be highlighted in yellow. Once it's done, you can actually use a command like to deplete and restore, and both cards will be doing the same command at the same time. Okay, so that's it for now. It's just the basics, as I said, and then each game has more in-depth like controls and hotkeys. So in my next video, I'll be talking more specifically about the spoils and how those hotkeys work for you. Okay, have a good day.